First, we have to abolish the fundamental myths on which the neoliberal constitution is based and rules Europe. And secondly, to proceed and provide the basis or the broader framework of an alternative constitution of running Europe, a European Union which will be able to resolve internal problems with cohesion and which will be able to face the problem of global competition and give an answer to the question of how Europe will play a role in the future in the economic global system, and how Europe will face the existing problems of migration, a problem which has to face today because tomorrow will be late, and how Europe will play a role of bridging gaps which already exist between Europe itself and Russia, because I consider it important that a realistic cooperation on political and economic terms between Europe and Russia will be an important factor in global stability and peace. Well, about the myths. The first myth, which annoys me personally very much, is that the Greek crisis is a Greek crisis, as it is an autonomous phenomenon which is due mainly to bad policies in the past, an inability of the governments today to adjust the economies to a framework which is imposed upon Greece by the Troika, which is essentially the program of the Washington Consensus. This is a myth which we must abolish. The Greek crisis is not an autonomous crisis of Greece. It's a crisis of the Eurozone. And it is important to emphasize this fact, because the press has managed so far to distort reality and to consider the problem as the Greek crisis, as if the Eurozone itself has no problem and everything goes well there. Actually, the Greek crisis is the expression of the pathology of the working of the Eurozone. If Greece didn't exist today, another country in the Eurozone would appear to have problems. And we have, therefore, to address ourselves to the problem also as a Greek crisis, as a crisis of the Eurozone. And this is the second myth, that by and large, the Eurozone is performing well. And with a few adjustments here and there, things are going well, and no major reforms are needed in the monetary union of the Eurozone. This is another myth. The thing is going very back to the Maastricht Treaty, when it was a turning point for the European Union, when the financial forces took over in the post-Delors period, We left industrial policies on all that, and Europe became actually captured by the international financial capital. Now, the Maastricht Treaty, which was a political compromise between France and Germany, was an incomplete agreement. It was not a complete monetary union. And mind you, at that time, we were not talking about monetary union. We were talking about an economic and monetary union. But we were not managed at that time, in '92, to emerge with a consistent, complete monetary union. We were aware of the problems at that time. I remember very well in '92 we had the discussions here in Greece whether we would proceed and enter the monetary union or not. In spite of the fact that we knew the shortcomings of the monetary union, all political forces in Greece at that time, except the Communist Party, voted for the Maastricht Treaty for two reasons. The first reason was a security issue. We thought at that time that being a member of the Eurozone will give us a security in our neighborhood, and we do have serious problems with our neighbors. And being a member of the Eurozone, that will give us a security. The second reason was that although the monetary union was incomplete, we will take further steps to complete the monetary union. We were talking at that time about deepening the cooperation among the member states, and that we will institute measures that will converge the growth of the economies. So we will have a monetary union in which there will not be economic inequalities or permanent deficits on the one side and permanent surpluses on the other side. This was the idea in '92. Things, however, did not turn out that way. Instead of the deepening of the cooperation of the European countries at that time, 10 in number, we broadened the membership at the insistence of Germany, and we came up actually with a monetary union of 18 members. And the basic constitution is the constitution of the Maastricht Treaty, which is the cornerstone of the neoliberal operation in Europe. We saw the results. When we had the crisis in 2008, 2009, which originated in the United States, we saw how unable the Eurozone was to defend itself and resolve the problems. Naturally, the weakest links in the Eurozone were the countries which would suffer most. Greece was one of them. But since then, until now, 2015, the Eurozone has been unable to resolve some key issues, has even been unable to deal effectively with the economic problems of one of its member countries, Greece. And even today, so many years after, things are going worse from year to year. And by insisting on a stupid program of retrenchment, the country is moving downwards, actually to a further recession, more unemployment and misery. However, the Eurozone insists on implementing this program. The reason is why? Are these people so stupid? Don't they know really that what they are forcing upon Greece is a medication that kills? I think the answer can be found in the area of ideology. The Eurozone, for ideological reasons, is unable to accept that resolving the economic crisis in Greece will take measures different from the neoliberal measures of the Maastricht. And if they were to accept different alternative measures to resolve the crisis, that would have been actually the beginning of the end of the neoliberal construction of the Maastricht Treaty, because after Greece, other countries would follow. We have therefore a conflict between resolving an economic problem on a realistic basis with an alternative program and defending an ideology which refuses to withdraw. It is a matter of time, however, it seems to me, even without the case of Greece, that the Eurozone will face the problem, that this monetary union, incomplete as it is not viable, and sooner or later it will face a major crisis. If Greece today, tomorrow Italy or Spain will face more and serious problems. And then the Eurozone will face two alternatives. Or will break up, or will reform itself to become a complete monetary union with a European central bank which will be real central bank, which could borrow governments, and with financial institutions within the Eurozone that will recycle funds within Europe and will converge economies to a growth path where there will not be permanent deficits in some countries and permanent surpluses in other countries. Will this reform will come? The political forces today have surrendered, it seems to me, to the Maastricht ideology, and I don't expect political movements, either from the right or from the social democratic parties in Europe, to start a movement for the reform of the Maastricht Treaty and to replace it actually with another institution that will provide conditions for full employment, for coordination of policies within Europe, and the question is, are we going to wait to see the crisis to come? Where are the social movements that will react? I think this is the crux of the matter. It is our responsibility, I think, to change the ideas in the minds of people and to tell the people there is another way of running Europe. A Europe that could provide full employment, a Europe that can protect the social state, a Europe that can deal and be an important player in global affairs, but that would require an entirely different institution from the neoliberal institution that started with the Maastricht Treaty. So what is needed, actually, for us is to provide a framework of what this different institution would be and how, in practical terms, we can mobilize the people around this idea so there will be political pressure really to reform a system which, as I said, is not viable. I think this is the big task for us. And it is unfortunate that today there are no formed political forces in Europe who can take on this task. It is therefore up to us, to the people who are concerned, to talk to each other, to talk to the people, and start grassroots mobilizing for changing Europe to a different direction. That, I think, is a big task, and I think we ought to contribute to this effort. Now, something about Greece again. Yes, it's absolutely true that the Greek crisis we're talking about is the very expression of the malfunctioning of the Eurozone. It is therefore a Eurozone problem. But there are problems also in the Greek economy that we have to recognize, irrespective of the Eurozone crisis. And this is the other phase of the Greek crisis. The question I want to pose to you is this. In the past 70 years, from the end of the Second World War until today, there have been many efforts here in Greece to put the Greek economy on a development path without major success. Money was not the problem, and I want to emphasize that. Immediately after the Second World War, we had the Marshall Plan here, where massive resources, financial resources, moved to Greece. But after a few years, development did not happen, and we came up with so-called frozen funds, as we call it. In other words, the funds that were channeled through the banks to about 10, 11 key enterprises were not invested in development. They either flew the country or became expensive houses in Greece, and these development funds were lost. Later on, when funds again came back to Greece through immigrant remittances and shipping, and money were abundant in Greece, sector was the banks finance the companies, and after a few years, development did not happen, and we ended up with the problematic companies, in other words, over-indebted companies, which did not actually invest in development, and they invested again either in consumption or funds left Greece. But there again, later on in '81, when funds for agriculture came from the European Union, did not transform the agricultural economy. And actually, during the period of our being with the European Union, we deindustrialized Greece, and we essentially abandoned agriculture. Development failed again. We are obliged to give an answer to this question. Why this happened? Is this in the DNA of Greeks that they fail and they cannot develop? What is the problem? The problem, well, we don't like to talk, but which is the key issue, is that since then and even today, the Greek economy is captured by a small clique of people who control the banking system, the mass media of information, and political segments through which extract wealth from the Greek economy, but do not produce growth. And what is more, this closed group of power does not let healthy, dynamic forces in Greece to proceed with the development. It blocks development. So the other side of the Greek crisis, which Tsipras and Syriza is facing today, is how to face this close group which has captured the economy, to break up this group, to liberate the healthy development forces in Greece and proceed. To my mind, the big challenge for Tsipras is not so much to achieve an agreement with the Eurozone Monday, and I hope he does that. The big challenge for Tsipras is for a change to break this close group which has captured the economy and free economic and social forces for a development process to which the state itself has had to give some guidance. And to manage this time, the transfer of resources from a healthy banking system to agricultural growth, to manufacturing growth, and to innovating activities in Greece. That is the big challenge. And that's why I talk about the double problem of Greece. Is first how to get as much as it can under the certain circumstances in the Eurozone today so that we will proceed, and how we'll break up what blocks the development in Greece. And I hope that Syriza, in spite of the fact that it was not prepared to face these kind of challenges, can do that. And the important thing, which is surprising, is that it does have the support of the majority of the people. In spite of the difficulties we have had since February until today, Syriza continues to have the firm support of the majority of the people. And here is this an opportunity for Syriza and Tsipras actually to do something which we haven't been able to have done in the past 70 years. Thank you.